Loss of control in the cloud. Always the consumer feels he is losing control when he gives the data, this software and other things to the third party. Why is this feeling coming up? The feeling is coming up because all the data application resources are located with the provider. He manages who can enter, who cannot enter, and he has, though you put lot of controls, you do not know whether the control, you do not have the final control of whether the controls that you have stated to the third party he is maintaining it or not. All your security policies, everything is maintained by the cloud provider, and you rely on that provider for data security and privacy, your resource availability, and also your monitoring and repairing of services resources. So, all these things are completely under the third party's control. So, the third party may give you access to this, but you really do not know whether the third party can access and change any of your data in your absence. So, that is the main feel of loss of control from the customer end, from the consumer end in using a cloud. The lack of trust in the cloud, again it is a slightly deviation from the original import of this course, but then we need to go and define trust, which we actually failed. Mathematical definition of trust, as I explained in the previous session, is not possible. I also suggest that you could look at a book on trust and risk by Gene Camp. Trust and risk are actually opposite sides of the same coin, and the basically when you look at trust, where do we start, where is trust becoming very important? It actually becomes important from the notion of accountability and verifiability. If something goes wrong, who has done it, and how do I go and prove that he has done it, and can the third party, something which is not under your control, can they go and cover it up? So, these are some of the major issues that come with trust. And what is risk? Risk is a measure of how much you are vulnerable. Risk is a measure of vulnerability. Vulnerability when? Vulnerability, so when I want to do a risk assessment, the way we go about doing this is, when there is a situation wherein for an adversary there is an opportunity to do some action within your system, in which the cost that you get because of the action is much more, the cost that you, the amount you lose because of that action is much more than the amount you spend in controlling that action. Let me give you an example. Let me repeat that statement. Risk is a measure of vulnerability, and the vulnerability is measured in situations where you want to, there is a loss of control, there is someone who comes into your system in an opportune moment wherein he does something to the system, and the cost that you incur because of that action is much more than the cost that you would have actually invested if you want to have that control and not allow that fellow to enter. So, this is what I mean by vulnerability. Putting down into very raw terms, if I give it to you, I have some cost benefit. If I make all my things, if I shift all the things, all my software, hardware and infrastructure into the cloud, I have certainly lot of cost benefit, but the amount of cost I save versus the amount I may lose because I lost control of my data and deployment etc. in case of some vulnerability, if that cost is going to be much higher than the cost benefit that I am going to get by moving my infrastructure to cloud, then I am vulnerable, then I have taken a huge risk. So risk is, so people have been trying to define risk, but this is the way we I find risk to be, I find this as a better definition for risk. It is the, again I repeat, this is the vulnerability, it is the measure of vulnerability for an attacker to attack at an opportunity wherein there is a loss of control due to cost, and the amount of cost I gain by losing that control to the third party is much lesser than the amount of cost I pay because somebody exploited that loss of control and entered the system and damaged the system. So trust and risk are very hard to balance, and that makes this entire that is a need for such courses. We are going to have 6 levels of courses. We are now in level 1 of this course and level 1 of the course, and then we have 5 more levels spread over next year and 2, and what we will be talking there, always one important point that will come at every point down in the remaining 5 levels, and this level would be how do you balance trust and risk. The most important thing is whenever we go and adopt a new technology, then there is lot of trust and risk related issues to be addressed. Cloud is a new technology, right? Is the cloud actually heading towards extinction because of the trust? If it is going towards extinction, then there is no point in anybody moving towards it, because again they have to come back, and already I mentioned in the previous module in the previous session that especially for an industry where their inherent business is not IT, right, say banking. Now you move all the infrastructure to cloud, and tomorrow when you want to bring it back into your own fold, you may not have the talent within your organization to support it. So this cloud business is much more trickier than previous things. One very interesting thing was that Clipper chip, which is also called the key escrow. This was a chip given by the government for many appliances, which will have its own encryption, and that encryption was a classified encryption. So this was issued by the government in something like 1993 in the western world, and it completely became defunct in 1996. It was big hype in 1993, but in 1994, if I remember right, there was a paper that was published which stated many vulnerabilities in this chip. It was basically an encryption chip which will take your data and encrypt and send. You can go to web and look at Clipper chip, and it will give you many more details. But in 1994 there was a paper which talked about some vulnerabilities there, and then many things went unaddressed, and adoption of this became a very serious concern, and the whole effort died in within 3 to 4 years. So is cloud going for that? Will security be such an important concern that cloud may fall down as a paradigm? So these are important questions that need to be answered here. The other major factor for this thing is multi-tenancy. So suppose I am going to go into a flat, right? I am moving from one home to another home, I am shifting my residence. What are the questions you will ask? Who are my neighbors? What do they eat? Right? If you are a pure vegetarian and your neighbor eats non-veg every day morning, you may not like it, right? Similarly, when I am going to a cloud environment and say in the same server some 10 fellows, 10 software of 10 different organization would be executing, then you will ask who are these tenants, who are these fellows, and you will also start asking question whether some mistake of that fellow will upset your security, your CIA, your confidentiality, integrity, availability. How does the fellow provide that separation between these tenants? So, I have some fellow in the same server, another fellow is executing, he is using the same memory, he is using the same peripherals. Now, my data, my password, everything is going to be in that memory, and sometime later his password is going to be in the same memory. So, will he not look into my data, will he not touch me? So, what permissions he will have? Can he have a legitimate access to my data, as far as legitimate in the sense from the system's point of view? He is also a root, you are also a root, and this has root privileges. Since he is a root, he is accessing you. Can such type of statements can be made? So all these things come up. Can all the tenants be, are they all good neighbors? Will they come and steal my house? Will they drill a hole from the next door and come into my house and steal? So, these are all questions that need to be answered. These are all questions that need to be sufficiently powerfully answered. Satisfactory answer itself is not sufficient, you need a powerful answer. So, multi-tenancy is a very big issue in clouds. The moment I say I can't have multi-tenancy, give me a separate server, then it is not a cloud. So, there is no resource pooling, and all those essential characteristics of a cloud is lost, and you will not get that economic benefit, then it becomes your own data center. Now comes fear. I did mention about that Tamil movie Tenali, where Kamala Hassan lists a set of fear when a doctor questions him. So, what are the fear here? So, let me talk in Tamil. Confidentiality ekandu bayam, integrity ekandu bayam, availability ekandu bayam, scalability ekandu bayam, privacy ekandu bayam, audit ekandu bayam, legal ekandu bayam. So many bayams come, so many fears come when you go into cloud. Let us list all those fears. Let me talk about those fears. Confidentiality, yes, you have fear of loss of control over data, right. Will the sensitive data remain confidential when I put on the cloud, especially in a multi-tenant environment? Will this data be leaked? Who will leak this data? It is not the tenants intelligent, another fellow executing. My own service provider, how good he is? Will he leak my data? Will he not peek into my data? Is he honest? Right. The second thing is integrity. Can somebody go and change all the computations? Are they happening correctly? Are they using the same software? Right. Specifically, I do not know, this is more on the engineering side. There are some floating point programs which personally I have executed, say 1 decade down the line, and some embedded processors, where if I use different optimization levels for my compiler, I get different answers. The answer will be correct up to 2-3 decimals, but beyond 3 decimals it might be different. And if I am looking at very high accuracy, like I am computing in multi crores, and then I am looking at 4th digit or 5th digit, will my computations be correct? Is my rounding off correct? What sort of optimization they are using? Especially when we start using cloud in a manufacturing infrastructure, where I want to do a large scale collaborative manufacturing between countries, pan earth, pan universe manufacturing of, say, some auto component, right. So, will the computations, are they done correctly? What software they use? Is my data that is stored, it is not tampered or it is not changed? Okay, these are all some very important integrity issues, right. I fear those things. I need to get much more powerful answers about confidentiality and integrity. Third thing is about availability. Am I ensured that on a real day I am opening up, say, something on my quarter end? Will the critical system be available, or it will suddenly go off? Will there be a denial of service attack? Has he put the latest virus? I do not have any control. And suddenly what happens if the cloud fell or somebody all of them vacated and they move to a new cloud? What will happen if his business goes down? He winds up shop. Then I have to bring back it, or I have to look at another cloud, what it means. And specifically when we look at, say, banking as a very important thing, so we need continued support, right? If my servers, for example, if I am doing my research and the server is gone for, say, 2 days, it's okay. But if a bank closes for 2 days, I don't know, it will be very difficult. And will this cloud scale enough? So I have looked at, say, 100 branches, 200 branches, 300 branches. Tomorrow I am going to 3000 branches. Will it scale enough? I am looking at a research center, research organization, which all its things are put on cloud. Tomorrow I am looking at 100 employees, tomorrow 10,000 employees. Will it scale enough? And so the cloud people now come out with an argument, your downtime is much comparatively less than my downtime, right. This downtime itself is a misnomer. So the misnomer in the sense, you say the downtime is in percentage. In the next 5 years I will give you 99% uptime, so 1% downtime. Now what is this 1% in say 1500 days? 15 days, right. So he can go and say 15 days can you close a bank? So suppose it happens that in, say, 2 years down the line, 15 days it got closed. Now you go and look at a 5-year period and remaining time it was all working fine. So in the 5-year period, 15 days it got closed, or let us say 4 years 350 days it was running and the last 15 days it closed. Still by your service level agreement 99% it was uptime, but can your bank close completely for 15 days? You are gone, you go out of business, right. So these are all very important things. Availability, again when you sign an SLA and they say some percentage of availability, it does not mean what duration. I may not even want my customer to have 1 hour the bank goes, because there may be somebody who is critically ill, they need money, they need cash, right. So this is service. So this is very important, and this is a very important fear. So when you guys sign SLA, look at, somebody says 99% uptime, in what duration, that is very important. Privacy issues, you go to some important mails and you are typing something, say put some verb or some noun there, you see lot of advertisement coming on the side which are related to your words. So I say some something, then I say some cloth, some nearby cloth store's address comes here, that means they are mining your data. So what is it that, what is the guarantee that massive data mining is not happening? And so they may say that I am mining data to see your basic usage pattern so that I could give you more effective service, but it is not necessary that this mined data is just going to stop at mining, but they may use it for some other purpose. And more importantly, your attack surface is now increased. What do you mean by the attack surface increased? Now I have many organizations which are much more even physically and electronically closer to your data and storage. So now the attackers can now start targeting the communication link between the cloud provider and the client also. It is not just within the client, it is between the client and the cloud provider, right. So between the cloud provider and the client, I can start attacking the communication, and the cloud provider, and it is not just I am looking at the public, I am also my own people, but now I have to look at the data centers people also. If some employee of the data center is phished, I am gone. So now the people whom I am looking at, the process I have looked at, I am technology, one of the three important things when I talk about PPT, right, it is people, process and technology. The people, process and technology are not just ended with people, process and technology has not ended with my organization alone. When I outsource it to a cloud, then my people, process, technology now expands to the cloud. So, I have to be concerned about the processes and people and the technology used by the cloud. I should go and give information security awareness to the cloud service provider. I should ensure that enough information security education is done to the people of those organizations. Otherwise, my whole infrastructure is gone. So, this increased attack surface is another important aspect of fear. The next two important things is auditability. It is very difficult to go and audit an outside organization, especially inside a cloud, because logs, for example, if I want to audit logs of servers, I need logs of virtual machines. I can't look at what the other fellow did not do or what he has done. Suppose I want to go and find out whether he has peeked into my data, he is just a passive observer. I need to go and see his log, but his log will not be available to me. If I insist on that, then my log will be available to him, and then there will be a confidentiality breach. In that in the same sense, even forensics is going to be extremely difficult. And the other important thing, we talked about transitivity in trust. A trust B, B trust C, A need not trust C. The same thing happens here. I give my thing to a cloud vendor, so the cloud service provider. The cloud service provider would have another party who is going to maintain his storage. Now, I certainly trust a cloud service provider, but and the cloud service provider trusts the disk vendor, but I may not trust the disk vendor. So, there is a transitive trust issues here, and then of course, the legal quagmire. So, somebody can ask me, they will ask me if I am a medical person, they will ask me about HIPAA, am I maintaining this HIPAA regulations, right. The organization is going to be questioned, not the cloud service provider. So, it is my responsibility to see that the cloud service provider who is maintaining my data and processes and programs adhere to the standards which I should be adhering. So, this is another very important thing. So, these are all that we fear about this. So, to conclude, this is a famous statement by Cisco CEO which is well reported. Cloud computing is a security nightmare and it can't be handled in traditional ways. So, security is one of the most difficult tasks to implement in cloud computing, and even if there is a single flaw here, it could have catastrophic effects which will go and affect not just a single organization, but it will go and affect a set of organizations. So, in the next session, we will now go and talk more about what are all the threats. Thank you.